hereby urge youth to obey the law and shun all forms of criminality activities.
More groups pledge support for the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Presidency reacts to coordinated statements by the UK, US, and European Union over suspension of Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Federal Roads Maintenance Agency begin repairs on failed portions of Abuja Kefi Road.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall revisit the issue of estimated billing of electricity consumers in Nigeria.
All right, it's no longer news that the power challenge in Nigeria is yet to be over, as many people have little or no access to steady and regular supply of electricity.
That's right, Claire. Now, successive administrations have tried to break the power conundrum without success, and the incumbent administration is making its own frantic efforts to see that Nigerians have stable power supply.
Of course, Kingsley, if you recall that the privatization of the power distribution in Nigeria was done by the previous administration, and of course that gave birth to distribution companies commonly known as the DISCOs. But in spite of all this, the story has not really changed as far as power supply is concerned.
So, aside from the general complaints of power shortage, those who receive power and do not have prepaid meters have been subjected to the horror of estimated billing, which has practically become the new headache of Nigerian electricity consumers.
Okay, now, the twist in all of this is that the DISCOs are saying that the task of providing prepaid meters to all electricity consumers in Nigeria is one that cannot be attained as easy as we thought. And that's because of one big problem, funding, as well as other sundry challenges. And estimated billing, they say, might remain until everyone is metered, unfortunately.
Yeah, but the trouble is with the arbitrary and sometimes outrageous amounts charged customers who in many cases claim that they do not consume anything near what they are asked to pay. Now, in most cases, failure to pay leads to disconnection and other penalties.
All right. Now, the latest development as far as estimated billing is concerned is that last week the House of Representatives passed a bill seeking to amend the Power Reform Act and, of course, criminalize estimated billing. Now, if that is signed into law, DISCOs who are found guilty of using estimated billing system could pay fines or be sentenced to jail terms.
But the bill, as passed by the House of Representatives, has attracted both acceptance and rejection, particularly from the DISCOs. But one question to ask is, why are prepaid meters difficult to access? Is estimated billing the norm or an exception? And what are the factors standing against the provision of meters to all consumers in a sector that has been privatized? And more particularly, what is the yardstick for estimated billing?
All right, very tough questions there, but we don't have all the answers, and that's why we've assembled, of course, the right guest on today's program who will provide answers to those questions on today's edition of the program. And we shall also be looking at malaria elimination in Nigeria. What are the latest figures? Is the fight against malaria making progress? Now, that's the second part of our discussion on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. I am Claire Delabo Abdulrazak. Thank you for joining us once again. And it's broadcast here on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, from Abuja.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join Claire in also welcoming you to today's edition of the program, which of course is the first for the week. And as usual, we'll have our complimentary segments of the program. And these will include newspaper review, business, sports foreign, and others. In the meantime, let's join Ogwa Vivian Oyedibe, who's ready with the highlights of the morning news. Hello, Ogwa.
Hello, Kingsley, Claire. Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to the news. The presidency notes with interest the coordinated statements of the US, UK and EU linking the suspension of CJ Onoge to the conduct of the upcoming elections. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the government appreciates the concerns voiced by the three statements and accepts that the authors of the statements believe they were acting in friendship towards Nigeria with regard to making the statements. However, it notes that friends, when not properly informed or acting in haste, can indeed make serious mistakes, even with the best of intentions, as is the case here. The statements by the three seem more driven by unfounded assumptions and, to be honest, a certain condescension to the African democracy, which is unfortunate. The statements by the US, UK and EU speak of their respect for constitutional practice and fair elections. However, the positions they take tend to contravene rather than strengthen these laudable objectives. CJ Onoge's situation is one of his own making and to a large degree his own choosing. The CJN was brought before the CCT because of a serious breach of law regarding his assets declaration. Well, this is not a mere technicality like innocently placing a document in a wrong file or mistakenly placing yesterday's date on a document. All credible evidence indicates that the CJN owned and operated several secret bank accounts. Unexplained large sums of money exceeding several $1 million have passed through these accounts. Several $1,000s are currently parked in the accounts. Multiple deposits of equal sums of money were deposited in some of those accounts during the same day. Well, such rapid and equal deposits are indicative of a person attempting to evade banking reporting laws and regulations. And away from that, the National Youth Coalition of Nigerian youth leaders from different ethnic nationalities in Nigeria have endorsed President Buhari's re-election bid. 774 local government coordinators, 36 state chairmen of the coalition, and more than 50,000 members of the group and the FCT are here to endorse Muhammadu Buhari for second term.
As the President of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, I hereby urge youth to obey the law and shun all forms of criminality activities.
This is just to tell you the beginning. In the next few days, you will also see us going for 20,000 Niger Deltas in the Greek.
The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has affirmed the commitment of the Air Force to strategic leadership training in order to reinforce its operational capability. The Air Chief gave this commitment at the 2018 Course 4 of the Air Force War College in Makurdi, Benue State.
The kind of challenges we face in 21st century are very complex. And for you to be part of the process of resolving those challenges or providing solutions to those challenges, you must have knowledge. Without knowledge, you can't fit in.
And to education matters now, Minister of Education, Adamu has directed the National Universities Commission, the National Commission for Colleges of Education, and National Board for Technical Education, NBTE, to, with relevant security agencies, immediately crack down on illegal tertiary institutions within their jurisdiction. The minister, who stated this at a media briefing, said this follows the identification of 66 illegal degree awarding institutions by the National Universities Commission. Adamu said the continuous proliferation of illegal institutions of higher learning in the country is more the university subsector than the polytechnics and colleges of education, which he described as embarrassing to the nation.
All regulatory agencies in the public sector to work with relevant security agencies to immediately crack down hard on all illegal tertiary institutions within their jurisdiction. It should be noted that qualifications awarded by these institutions are not recognized for the purposes of NYSC or employment after that.
And talking road infrastructure, in line with the federal government's directive, the Federal Road Maintenance Agency has embarked on maintenance and repair work on critical failed sections of federal roads across the country. Maintenance work on the Abuja-Kefi Road is carried out both day and night.
It caused a lot of problems, particularly to us that are charged with the responsibility of maintenance and repair. You know, maintenance and repair is okay as long as the road is within its life period. But once it is expired, it becomes more difficult. Every day you keep repairing and maintaining, and every day new issues, new problems start occurring.
Giving us the go-ahead, financially and otherwise, to carry out massive repairs along this corridor up to Kefi. In fact, the various sections of the road where we were having a lot of failures and even flooding, I think will be surely taken care of.
And that's it from the news desk. The rest of the program will continue shortly with Claire and Kinsley after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
My name is Muhammad Sahabi Audi, Chairman, Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, Rifan, Kebbi State Chapter. The coming of this administration in 2015, when President Buhari came to Kebbi State and launched the Anko Boros program. Under the program, farmers are given all the needed inputs in terms of fertilizer, water pumps, agrochemicals, and even cash for purchase of fuel. So farmers become more and more encouraged and began to expand their land to produce rice. We now have farmers who have actually taken rice farming as business. They're making profits. Our youth are into rice farming. We have many retired workers and serving civil servants who have businessmen going into rice farming. So rice farming is now a business in Kebbi State.
Sore throat, it's often caused by bacteria and viruses. Feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in 1 lozenge. Bye-bye sore throat. Take Strepsils.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dettol Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Candidates, a presidential town hall co-production between Daria Media and NTA, supported by the MacArthur Foundation. Kingsley Mogalu and running mate Umar Getso of the Young Progressive Party, Muhammadu Buhari and running mate Yemi Osinbajo of the All Progressives Congress, Omoyele Sowore and running mate Rabiu Ahmed Rufai of the African Action Congress, Atiku Abubakar and running mate Peter Obi of the People's Democratic Party. Moderator, Padria Ahmed. Town Hall venue, Sheraton Hotel, Abuja. Next Town Hall, Wednesday, 30th January 2019, with the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, from 8 to 10 p.m. The candidates will be broadcast live on NTA and other partner TV and radio stations, as well as streamed online on NTA and DTV.media. If you are over 18 and want to be part of the audience, apply online at daria.media. Or use the hashtag NGTheCandidates, or participate online using the hashtag NGTheCandidates.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I was so excited to sing in the choir. And your shirts are always so white. I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secrets passed down to me. It's Jik, of course. The original trusted bleach, which can be used all around your house for amazing results. Shh, it's our little secret. It's no secret. It's Jik's best ever extra whitening power. Just Jik it.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria. Time to talk business now. And after recording gains in 4 out of 5 sessions, the all-share index posted another positive week-on-week return. Now, considering that strong gains from the past week, a capital market expert believes that trading activities will still pick up as the 2019 general elections approaches. For details, we join our business desk, and Comfort Amodu is on it.
The federal government has expressed its resolve to improve on government revenue sources to boost value-added tax on some items as the year progresses. Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed said the decision is essential following challenges the government faces with providing all revenue infrastructure. This, she said, will be after a due consultation with the National Assembly.
The contribution of the non-oil GDP is 2.32%. That means the non-oil GDP is growing at a rate faster than the oil GDP, but the quantum is still smaller. So that's the point that we're trying to make. We need to grow the base, not just the proportion, so that in real terms, non-oil revenue is greater than oil revenue. That is what will make sure that we have sustainability in terms of our fiscal space.
So in computing the actual cost per naira, you look at the total collection over the current cost. So there's been a gradual decrease from 2.6 to 2.4 to 2.1, meaning that it cost us less to generate an additional naira or FX or collection.
On efforts to improve the Treasury Single Account TSA tariff regime, the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, said it is imperative to engage competent domestic consultants for optimal performance, as well as take census of TSA accounts in line with the global best practices.
We must contemplate and think of robust technology that will do the job. It's not just about deployment and starting, and then you start on a wrong note and fail. It's something that we must not rush into, but it has been approved and the process is there. We are working assiduously to come up with a very robust and very effective framework that will make it work.
Meanwhile, Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, Colonel Hamid Ali, has appealed to the federal government to review automotive tax system.
The 35% levy is what we think should be tinkered with. We should be able to reduce that to a level that it will be affordable. 70% is on the high side. There's no doubt about that for nearby vehicles. But we cannot touch the baseline of the tax regime. We can only tinker with the levy.
In another development, the equities market recorded mixed performance of plus 1.36% gain week on week. The NASD OTC went down by minus 1.33% week on week. As at the close of trade week on 25th January 2019, market capitalization declined to 534.78 billion naira from the previous week's 541.99 billion naira. NSE Africa Bank Value Index recorded the highest gain of plus 7.90%, while NSE Industrial Index recorded the highest drop of minus 2.02%. Similarly, the USI for the week ending recorded a decrease from 754.40 points to 744.38 points.
Usually, the financial stocks are always in the forefront. The banking subsectors are there for you. The consumer goods and the conglomerates, they are always there. So these are the ones. For example, last week, financial stock had about 89% of traded stocks. Many investors, they are still watching with keen interest to see where we are going. So it is better for them to take position and enhance their portfolio because whatever comes, Nigeria remains, and the market is always there.
With business news, I'm Comfort Amadou.
All right, thank you very much for the business package. Newspaper review is next on Good Morning Nigeria.
Time to join Bayo Atoyobi, who is right here in the studio and on time for the review. Bayo, good morning.
Thank you, Kay. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good to see you. Hope you had a restful weekend.
Yes.
Pretty busy.
Busy, well, in the news, a lot of political and judicial fireworks.
A lot of stories flying around social media.
All
right, so as should be expected, let's take the stories on the front pages of the papers. The leads, obviously, has to do with the suspension of Chief Justice Walter Onnoghen. That's the lead for New Telegraph, and it comes as follows. NJC decides Onnoghen's fate, summons emergency meeting for Tuesday with 3 riders. CJN's counsel, we are shocked by turn of events. Falana, as senior advocate, Senate should demand review of CJN's suspension. Atiku Adebanjo, TMG, senators and reps carpet president. Details of the story can be found on pages 4 and 10. For the Daily Independent newspaper, the story comes with a kicker. And it says, suspension of Chief Justice Onnoghen. Senate plans showdown with President Buhari, and the riders are quite many there. Presidency lobbies APC senators, summons them, and APC senators vow to resist sanctions against Buhari. There's plot to impeach Saraki and Dogara. That's according to CUPP. And PDP alerts and moves to bribe senators. CJN can still reclaim position if cleared. That's according to SAGE. NJC holds meeting today. The other paper was reporting Tuesday. And Serap gives NJC 5 days to take over CJN's case. That story is on the front page with a jump to page 4.
All right.
Claire.
Is that one?
Yeah, there's another story there, but it has to do with elections. So let's take on the one on the CJN first. That's the one on the CJN, suspension of the CJN.
Okay. I think, Bayo, just get on with it now.
Well, by way of background, the president suspended the Chief Justice, Justice Walter Onnoghen on Friday and sworn in Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. President indicated that he acted in the order of the Code of Conduct Tribunal to suspend the Chief Justice pending final determination of cases against him on the breach of Code of Conduct. Opinions are varied on the action taken by the President. The Nigeria Bar Association has summoned an emergency meeting. The Secretary of the Association, Jonathan Taidi, indicates that similarly the leadership of the National Assembly is also reported to be planning an emergency session. It may be recalled that the National Assembly had actually gone on election recession and were due to resume February 19th. However, they are required to come out. Now, what are the facts? The facts are like every issue, every coin, it has 2 sides. The facts against are that the suspension is unconstitutional. The Chief Justice is a creation of Section 230 and 223, 1 and 2 of the Constitution. His appointment and removal is planned to be by the 3 arms. Recommendation by the NJC, appointment by the President, and confirmation by the Senate. Similarly, if it's to be removed, it has to come from the NJC, approved by the President, and confirmed by the Senate. And so by virtue of Section 292 of the Constitution and the 3rd schedule of the Constitution, he has security of tenure. The order signed by the Chairman Code of Conduct Tribunal and another member of the 3-member panel by the tribunal did not have the name of the deposer of the ex-parte motion. The tribunal's jurisdiction was challenged, and the tribunal did not wait to determine that challenge of jurisdiction until went ahead. Those four are also arguing that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, though head of the judiciary, is a public officer, and as a public officer, as provided for by Part 2 of Schedule 5 of Subsection 5 of the Constitution. And then under Paragraph 12 of the 5th Schedule of the Constitution, he is required of a breach of Code of the Conduct is supposed to be determined by the Code of Conduct Bureau and tried by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. And there was no reason for the Chief Justice to have gone to a high court, an industrial court, or even go to the Court of Appeal. In fact, it is only the judgment of the Code of Conduct Tribunal that is subject to appeal at the Court of Appeal. The same Justice Onoge is said to have been a member of a judicial panel that ruled in Ismail Ahmed and Nasser Ahmed that a case of a violation of Code of Conduct is the exclusive preserve of the Code of Conduct Tribunal. And so the arguments go on. But it is reflected in the headlines that you read there. You recall that Onoge removal is in tune with the anti-corruption wall. That is accredited to Isesage. Onoge's Supreme Court justices shown inauguration of election tribunal, and that is from the leadership. Onoge to challenge the suspension in court, and from the Sun, war drums over Onoge's removal. Guardian says Pandev rejects Onoge's suspension, describe actions as unconstitutional. NJC is to meet today without Onoge or Justice Mohammed. Meanwhile, there have been pronouncements from the United States Embassy in Nigeria, as well as the UK High Commission. They are all pleading for calm, that due process as required by law and by constitution should be followed. Particularly, all express concern that this coming very close to election raises concern about suspicion, and particularly that the EU mission on observer mission said appointment of election tribunal just coming on the eve of the election and following from the suspension of CJS leads to cause for suspicion. All right, Bayo. And let's quickly take another trending story. It's a headline story on the front page of the Nigerian Pilot. And it says, CUPP alleges plot to sack NAS leadership. And it comes with a couple of riders there. You can find the details on page 16. But just a little below the nameplate, you find to your... it should be right now, that's to my left. We're building local capacity through R&D. That's Kaz Abubakar, that's of course Chief of Air Staff. And there's a rider there, honors 5 crew members of MI-35 helicopter crash. Now, we talked about the NGC holding emergency. You also find just a little below the picture stories, gunmen storm Gwagwalada, kill APC chairman, and abduct daughter. Details of that on page 6, and other trending stories at the bottom. But precisely, I'd like to pick up this one. We spoke to it on Good Morning Nigeria last week. IGP calls for voluntary surrender of illegal weapons.
All right. Now, there are other headlines from the Daily Independent. Let's begin from the bottom half and then climb up past the lead story which we earlier read. Now, that's the bottom half of the Daily Independent newspaper. Second lead story says IGP, that's the Acting Inspector General Police, set to retire all GIGs, urges voluntary surrender of illegal weapons. And then to the first column on the right, a story on Lassa fever. Plateau records 5 deaths and 17 confirmed cases. 10 dead judges among newly appointed election petition tribunal members. That's page 42. Reps raised the alarm over federal government's planned return of $100 million to the World Bank. That's page 45. Above the nameplate, 3 headlines. Merge ARIC and Aero to form national carrier. Stakeholders tell federal government. APC alerts police and DSS of plots to disrupt Owerri presidential rally. That's page 41. Strike. ASU denies receiving 163 billion naira from federal government. And lastly, from a New Telegraph, just one story below the nameplate. New Telegraph, it says, bandits storm viewing center, abduct 7 in Zamfara. There's also a story on the Lassa fever there in Plateau. And right at the foot of the front page of a New Telegraph, federal government to blacklist AMCON's debtors over 5 trillion naira. And 12,000 non-performing loans acquired, and agency recovers 1 trillion naira. Details on page 8. Bayo.
Yeah. The acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, on Saturday sworn in members of the Petition Tribunal for 2019 election. And that is the story you read there. There were 250 members, and the report there is saying there were 10 dead justices on the list of that, among those that were sworn in. 7 DIGs have received notification from the Secretary of the Police High Command. This is in consonance with the convention that when a senior officer is appointed as IG, those who were superior in rank to him will leave the service. Meanwhile, there are conflicting judgments regarding the political situation in Zamfara. A state high court in Zamfara on Friday, ruled that INEC and the national headquarters of the APC should accept the candidates of the APC following from the primaries that was conducted in October for the election. But in the same development, an Abuja Federal High Court, presided over by Justice Ijoma Ojukwu, also ruled that INEC acted correctly by stopping the APC Zamfara candidate from participating in the election. He said from all evidence before the court, it was obvious that the APC failed to conduct a valid primaries within the time allowed. Therefore, INEC's action will curb impunity among political parties. So, which one will INEC comply with? They are courts of the same jurisdiction, I think.
All right, let's quickly...
INEC says they will study it. But you know, Bayo, the issue of the retirement of DIGs and AIGs, we had discussed it.
Yes.
Immediately upon the announcement of the Acting Inspector General of Police. And one simple question to ask, just to reiterate what we said on that occasion, is how can a country, within 3 years, afford to lose the services of nearly 30 AIGs and DIGs to retirement?
As last count, that's 27. The current IG appointment of acting IG led to the retirement of 7. In 2016, I think it was, when the last IG was appointed, 20 officers were retired.
There was a case of Ugowe. Ugowe was, I think it was a DIG or an AIG. He was retired, and he challenged his retirement in court.
What was the
outcome? He won.
Okay. Was he reinstated?
No, of course, but then he had already gone past the age. He was a lawyer, by the way. Yes. Okay. Yes, he's late now.
Gentlemen, let's quickly take a look at our editorial today, and it is taken from Jazeera Nigeria News.com, and it's on the judiciary and 2019 elections. Just to single out, some of the highlights, it says that as interesting as the times are, the democracy, which has some of its cardinal agendas, separation of powers and the rule of law, must essentially thrive if all the critical sectors are allowed to play their roles as enunciated by the nation's constitution. Now, the next paragraph reads, it's in the light of same that we make bold to declare that the elements of separation of powers, where the executive, legislature, and indeed the judiciary are seen as different but operating in unison for the common good, can there be a viable democracy? And of course, they went on and on and on and on and on. Bio.
Yes, indeed, and the editorial is asking, where one infringes on the other, it leads to a clumsy system and undermines democratic process. So the editorial is advising that the judiciary should stand up and not to be compromised in whatever situation it is. It is in the light of these issues of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, which is now on the current front burner in the nation. The editorial is advising that all must have to be partner to consider over the issues, particularly they must ponder on the major demanding thing, national interest, over parochial individual interest. But the interesting thing about separation of powers is that the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature all constitute the government. One legislates, the other executes, and the other interprets the law.
All right, Bayo, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we have two items to discuss. One has to do with estimated billing, which is a menace to electricity consumers, and the other is rolling back malaria.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Sore throat, it's often caused by bacteria and viruses. Feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in one lozenge. Bye-bye sore throat. Take Strepsils.
Getting around heartburn and indigestion can be tricky if you eat too much. Eat food that is too spicy or greasy, or lie down after eating. Heartburn and indigestion could always be around the corner. When they come, be prepared with Gaviscon Double Action. It works within 3 minutes and lasts up to 8 hours. Gaviscon Double Action. Many causes, one solution.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dettol Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, on our first topic on the elimination of malaria, we have joining us in the studio now to discuss the subject matter, Dr. Perpetua Uwomoibi. She is Director, National Malaria Elimination Program at the Federal Ministry of Health. Dr. Uwomoibi, pleasure to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. Also in the studios is Boy Denen Daniel. He's the Media Communication Manager of Society for Family Health. Mr. Daniel, pleasure to have you on the program.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
All right. Let's start off with, I think I'd like to start off with Mr. Daniel. The 2017 World Malaria Report, if it's not stale by now, gives us an insight of what's happening. We hear that, efforts to achieve elimination is either at crossroads or stalled. And I'm wondering, the two species, have they become a dishi? You know what it means? What exactly? Give us a sense of what's happening.
Yeah, what is happening basically, there's a reduction in malaria when we go by the reports, the current reports we have. Malaria has reduced to 25%, 27% from 45%, and it's a great result. But when you look at the population of Nigeria, you see that we still have a lot. When you compare what we have on the statistics and the general population of Nigeria, you notice that malaria is still a source of concern. It still leads to over 3,000 deaths in Nigeria. So it's really a big concern for us in Nigeria.
All right, thank you. Dr. Omabi, what are the control measures that have given rise to the salutary figures of a climb down to some 25% as the rate of incidence?
Yes, thank you very much. The Nigerian government, with support from its partners, the Global Malaria Partnership, have put in a lot of measures to ensure that we bring down the high burden of malaria in Nigeria. As you know, like you've said from the World Malaria Report, Nigeria still bears the highest burden of malaria globally. And so the strategies, I can categorize them into three. We have the preventive strategies, the case management of malaria, and then the social and behavioral communication strategy. Under the preventive strategy, we have distribution of long-lasting insecticidal nets by free distribution by government and its partners to ensure that everybody in Nigeria has access to be able to sleep inside a long-lasting insecticidal net every night. So many states have benefited from these free net replacement campaigns over the years. We also have other interventions like seasonal malaria chemo prevention for children under 5 in the Sahelian region. That is just for where you give children some preventive medication just before the peak transmission season of when the rains come to protect them from having malaria. And then for pregnant women, we give them intermittent preventive treatment of malaria in pregnancy using sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, at least 3 doses in the course of one pregnancy. And so those are some of them. There's indoor residual spraying for houses, on the walls of the houses. And also we encourage people to use other personal protective devices to prevent them from getting malaria. So those are, and then larval source management, very important, environmental management to ensure that, we reduce the larval population that of mosquitoes that transmit malaria. So those are the preventive strategies. Then under the case management, the policy is test and treat. So you have to test, diagnose that is malaria before you treat, because not all fevers cause malaria. So we are promoting that every health provider should make sure that they test first before they treat, and using the recommended medication, which is the artemisinin combination therapy.
The combined therapy. But
yes.
Just before you go to the last one, which is the social and behavioral, treatment and all that, let's look at the preventive and, the case management. Because we've been hearing, as long as I can remember, and I remember there was a time when, the health, caregivers would go from, community to community, distributing the mosquito treated their bed nets. We don't get to see that again. What is the strategy of, getting these bed nets across? And of course, the treatment. We'll now talk about the combined treatment. Let's look at the prevention, first of all.
Okay, the strategies for getting these bed nets across to the populace, like I said, there is a universal, we want to ensure universal coverage. That is, everybody has access to be able to sleep, has access within their household. The recommendation is at least 2 persons in a household should be able to sleep in one, have access to. So if you have 4 people in a household, they should have at least 2 mosquito nets. So government is providing that free, and with support from the partners, Global Fund, President Malaria Initiative, and other partners.
Free at public?
No, we have the net replacement campaign where they go to a state and make sure that everybody in that state is given free nets. That is 2 persons to 1 net. That has been done in several states. In 2018, it was done in 8 states. This year, there is plan to do it in additional 13 states that have not benefited in the past 3 to 4 years from this free net. So they go into the whole state is covered. So there is a mobilization to give net cards to people in the state, every community. You know, we recruit over 10,000 personnel in some states to go to every community, give them these net cards in their houses. Depends on the number of people that are there.
When is it taking off?
It's already in progress. Like Delta State, they have already done the micro-planning. And then Kaduna State will also benefit, Katsina, Yobe, and, you know, those are under the Global Fund support. These 6 states, 3 additional states under PMI support. So those 90, and then hopefully when we roll out the World Bank grant that we got, an additional 4 states. So altogether this year, we are hoping that 13 states will benefit from this free net for everybody in the state, including FCT for this year.
Who are the target recipients of these insecticide-treated nets?
Everybody.
The target recipients are households, the general population.
That's what I said. Everybody in the
people
state.
living in the house.
I have a reason why I'm asking this question. For you to set up a mosquito net, you require a 4-poster bed. That is a bed that has, if you like, 4 sticks, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that the net can stand. But if you were to go to some households, middle class and up, you hardly will find a 4-poster bed. I mean, the way the beds are designed, they are not 4-poster. That's why I'm asking,
Yes, okay.
Who are the target receivers of your nets?
Everybody. You know, even a mat, if you sleep, any sleeping space, whether mattress, mat, bed, you can use, because the nets now come with ropes that you can hang. So all you need is nails. You put nails on the walls. You don't need to have those standing things. You put nails and
also,
you tie
for
the
urban
nets
homes,
on it.
we also have the conical nets, which you just need a 1 point to hang your nets, and it's all over.
Fine, that's fine. That's fine. Let's not drill that. Because where are you going to? You're going to drill it into a POP?
Yes, like
POP.
What I have in my home, I just drilled.
It's not. It
and
doesn't
it's
even
just
have
very
to be
simple.
on the ceiling, on the wall, by maybe on the head side of the bed. Once you put a rope from the net, you know, to the nail, you can then use it.
Fine. It's just the utility. That's to say that you can roll out 1 million nets, and then people don't use them. Then you're having, you know, you climb again in the cases of malaria. That's just one point. But the more point about prevention. Prevention. Because there was a time about 15 years ago in Abuja here, they said they launched the largest mosquito net in the world. Fine. But when you look at our environment, the breeding ground is there for mosquitoes. So what are we doing with regard to targeting those breeding grounds? It's dry season now, but the gutters in most urban centers are still silted. Go to Lagos, you know, go to parts of Abuja here, you see, go to Port Harcourt, you go to Kano. So what do we do with regard to those things? When it comes, you know, to the rainy season, by 5 p.m., if you don't close your doors and if you don't have insect screens in your house, you can be sure that the female Anopheles mosquitoes will be the ones that make noise in your ear. They'll be
exactly what the project.
You know, there was a time, Kingsley, sorry, there was a time they also started the outdoor residual spraying, you know, to address the issue that Kingsley raised. Yes, I'm wondering if you're still, doing that. Please take it along with Kingsley's question.
Okay.
I don't know who.
Yeah, the project is actually also has a component which has to do with the behavioral change aspect of it. The behavioral change aspect is where we get to educate people, provide knowledge and change perception about what people think and feel about use of net or malaria prevention attitudes or behaviors in their communities. And what we are doing is we involve what we call the interpersonal communication agent across the states where we are working. What they do is go door to door, house to house, providing information. They educate people on how to prevent malaria.
I live on the outskirts. I live on the outskirts. I haven't seen.
Currently, they are not working in Abuja. We're working in 13 states, which are Delta, Kano, Gombe, Taraba, Adamawa, Katsina, Ogun, and the rest.
How does this behavioral change campaign you just talked about now deal with clearing our gutters and fumigating the environment in general, which ordinarily should be the
Exactly. That's what the interpersonal communication agents are doing, because they go into the houses, they educate people on the importance of cleaning your house, clearing your gutters, why do you need to clear them, and then also keeping away what we call the mosquito breeding.
They really want to desift the gutters.
Mosquito breeding sites. Sometimes outside the gutters, you have mosquito breeding sites at home.
Let's be realistic, so that this is not just official. I do not expect officials of the Federal Ministry of Health to be the ones to come and be fumigating the local environment or to be desiccating drains and so on and so forth. As I said, this is the dry season. Go to Lagos, for instance. I mean, whether in the highbrow areas or lowbrow areas, you'll find gutters are silted.
Yes.
They are silted. Go to other empires. So whose responsibility is that? Because those are the breeding grounds.
Yes. That's why we work with the Ministry of Environment, for instance, and we expect that the states and the local governments would also do their parts to ensure that those gutters are clean. But people who live in their own environment have to also ensure that their immediate environment is clean, because it's the responsibility of prevention of malaria. It's not for the government alone. People have to play their part.
Do you still have challenges, let's say case management, you still have challenges with self-medication with malaria?
We do.
How are you dealing with that?
Well, we are dealing with that, through sensitization of both health providers and also the people on the dangers of self-medication, because it causes resistance. Because now we recall that we were using a chloroquine at a time, but it became resistant because of this issue. Now we are using ACTs, and if we are not careful, we become, the parasite will become resistant. So there's a lot of sensitization going on, by government and partners on the dangers of self-medication. I do realize that part of the problem of the reason I would say for self-medication sometimes is access to health facilities to get this anti-malaria.
This is the last question. I'm sorry to interject. Is there any way that people can know what best treatment, is good for them?
Yes, they have to access from a certified health provider, whether private or public facility, government clinics, or from and once they get it from a certified clinic or hospital, then they use it and and they ensure that what the drugs they are given is NAFDAC registered.
Well, I'm sure you know this is a very important topic. Maybe you would want to come again so that we can have more time to deal with this issue. But
thank you.
I have to thank you at this point for providing this information. Dr. Perpetua Homoibi, thank you very much. Director, National Malaria Elimination Program, Federal Ministry of Health. Many thanks. And of course, Mr. Igwe Dene Daniel, Media Communication Manager, Society for Family Health. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Good Morning Nigeria. Don't go away. We're looking at a very important issue right after this break.
From what we have seen, we have the capacity which we can rapidly develop or feed in ourselves. If we don't import rice, we stop importing corn and other grains, Nigeria will have plenty of money to invest into developing industries, especially manufacturing, textiles and so on, and develop iron and steel, and complement the infrastructure development. So really, the opportunities are virtually limitless, and we are very, very aware of this, and we are prepared to exploit it to the fullest.
The Nigerian Television Authority News 24 channel, your dependable all-round news station, offering you world-class news programs, documentaries, spotlights, promos, and information highlights. Take advantage of our network reach and advertise your interest, goods and services with us. NTA News 24, first among equals with digital broadcasting. You can reach us on channel 21 terrestrial TV and channel 101 on the Star Times platform. For more inquiries, please call Henry on 0803 379 0884. Join us today.
All right, time now to start our discussion on estimated billing of electricity consumers in Nigeria. And to kickstart our conversation, we have a background report put together by Kunle Adeyeye.
It is common knowledge that one of Nigeria's problems is the lack of power, which many say has contributed to the slow development of the country. The current administration inherited the challenges of electricity and a sector that was deregulated. The distribution of electricity in the country is now vested in the hands of distribution companies, commonly referred to as DISCOs. Since the introduction of the prepaid meters, electricity consumers have experienced some relief in the billing system as they can now manage their consumption. Wastages are also reduced because the consumers are now more responsible than in the past. Sadly, the prepaid meters are yet to go round, and many consumers are still billed based on estimation, which has not only generated controversies but led to accusations that the DISCOs are simply out to rob the consumers. Some estimates show that nationwide, only a total of 1.62 million Nigerian electricity consumers have been provided prepaid meters as at the second quarter of 2018. While there are efforts to jerk up the numbers, those still under the yoke of estimated billing are groaning under the pains of what they described as arbitrary and exaggerated billing. This has given rise to many complaints and even demonstrations by those affected. Only recently, the House of Representatives passed a bill seeking to reform the Power Sector Reform Act and criminalize estimated billing. When signed into law, using estimated billing outside the provisions of the law will be a criminal offense, attracting fine and jail terms. However, there are oppositions to the bill, particularly from the DISCOs, who say they cannot be blamed for the poor access to meters, as other key issues in their term of taking over by other sectors and governments are not in place. Whatever the disagreements, the consumers are yearning for a change and want to all be metered so that they can pay for what they consume and also control their consumption. What are the challenges of eliminating estimated billing, and how can this issue be resolved once and for all? These and more are what guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be dealing with in a moment.
All right, thank you very much, Kunle Adeyeye, for that background. Now, joining us on the studios to discuss this issue in further detail, would like to welcome Professor James Momo. Professor Momo is the incumbent chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. Professor Momo, pleasure to have you on the program.
Oh, yes, good morning. It's a pleasure, too, seeing you live. I watch your shows over and over. My first chance to be here. Thank you, to meet you.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Yes, yes.
Good to see you. Let's begin this way. Some persons have argued that the lingering issue of estimated billing, which results in arbitrary and often outrageous amounts for consumers to pay, is indeed the failure of regulation. What is your reaction?
I'm surprised for the argument that are going to put the blame of estimated billing to the hands on the head of our regulatory commission. The regulatory commission, on the other hand, is the one that is on the side of both the customer and, of course, trying to even defend the fact that estimated billing is not good, it's not accepted, it's not what we promote. And rather, it's what we have said it shouldn't happen in Nigeria and to any customer, including myself or yourself. Rather, what we have done is put regulations in place to discourage estimated billing. So first of all, why do we get up into this estimated billing? The discos they are the customer of ours, the licensee of ours, of the commission, who were licensed to operate, to market power to customers. When they took up the job, they signed on an agreement that they will provide meters to customers who will need it. Customers mean those who consume power legally. Right. They will provide meters, and these meters will be of high quality, and of course they will ensure that they are properly metered at appropriate price that is approved by the commission. However, there become a metering gap. They couldn't do this. The DISCO were not able to provide meters to the needy customer. And so in that regard, we did so many initiatives, so many regulations were passed to encourage the DISCOs in general to provide meters. I could give you samples of what we did as a regulator, rather than the one who said, let's do it. We said, okay, we will allow you to have what is called credit advance payment from our customer, who will now say, since you don't have meters to provide to my home, I will contribute money to at least source, to provide money on loan to the DISCOs. But that regulation was passed, but was abused, so it wasn't properly done. We didn't leave the DISCOs alone. We didn't say because you fail on the first idea, rather than doing estimated billing, we went further. He said, look, there are meters already in some homes. We will go to every distribution station, there's an injection substation. At that injection substation, we will find out the total amount of power is given to that particular area. If X amount of power is metered, we will subtract that meterable customers from the total power into that area, and then you will have to now take that total number, which may be the left. If you take 20 minus 5, let's say 15 is left, you will divide that 15 and estimate that 15 among those who consume power legally. Now, that is just to make sure everybody is treated fairly, because we recognize the reason why DISCOs have problems. There were vandalizations, there were abuse on their network, they were not maintained, and so on and so forth. However, since this was not done, they were finding creative ways, in my opinion, to get money to pay their bills as an investor into the network. So what we have done in addition is recognizing the total number, that big gap, where in Nigeria...
What exactly is the metering gap we're talking about?
The metering gap is... Presently, okay? When they took the job, the present money, if you find out, is that we have 11 DISCOs. Let's say 11 DISCOs. Over only 43% of our customers are metered. 43%. And if you look at each number from each of the DISCO, I will tell you that only 1 or 2 DISCOs are able to reach a number of 60% metered to their customers. That means over the rest of the DISCOs in the 20%, in the 30 percentile of metering customers. So that is how much gap we have now. So to do that, what we have done is to say, look, since there is such a gap, and we are giving initiatives that is not working, perhaps the excuse the DISCOs keep giving is that we don't have enough money to be able to provide meters for all the homes, all the people who need it. So we look at the total gap as of today. We say we have over 4 million Nigerians not metered. We cannot wait for too long. We cannot wait forever until the DISCO provides. So what did we do? We came up with a meter asset provider, which allow investors, which allow entrepreneurs who want to participate in this franchise and come back and come to participate and help DISCO out and help customer out to provide needed meter right now to shorten the gap.
I like us to really calm down. You know, a lot of Nigerians are watching, and this is very critical to everybody. So let's speak so that they understand what the key issues are in terms of metering, because every Nigerian, so many Nigerians are complaining about this estimated billing. Now we say, okay, the DISCOs are not complying. The DISCOs say they don't have money to do this. I mean, like Isley said, it all boils down to, you know, regulation, regulation issues.
The regulation issues, we have taken action, and the following is in place. Over 115.
Have we seen the outcome of the issues you have taken?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Right now, we have a regulation that welcomes investors to participate in this market of providing meters. As of December ending of 2018, we have 115 investors whom we are giving a no objection letter to approval to go and either get in the business of manufacturing meters, installing meters, and make sure it's tested and installable in different homes or in different customers' home who will need meter. We believe that will be by the end of 2020 or 2021, basically, all customers who want to be metered will have got enough meters because of this MAP, which is called Meter Asset Provider. It's a regulation that we put in place that is working. It's already attracting so many customers, like I say, investors, to do this, to participate in this metering, providing metering services to our able customers.
Well, Professor Momo, the meters are not free.
Yes.
So how does one explain the economics of the supply of power by discos to consumers? If you have meters to your customers, it is a lot easier for you to collect your revenue and then move on. So what is the rationale? I mean, sometimes somebody who is watching us from elsewhere will just be wondering, how do you explain this? To say that you have no meters like the oil sector, where they say that Nigeria, there are allegations that Nigeria doesn't know how much oil it exports because the metering head, is sometimes tampered with or otherwise. What is the challenge of getting meters to those who consume your product? You know what they consume, and then you take the money from them. It's like your GSM.
I have the same question too. I don't know how I run a business. Let's say I want to drive a car from here to my office, and I have no meter to gauge the mileage, to gauge the miles per hour I will have to drive the speed. That would be a problematic thing. So for you to say you want to measure and you want to market power, you want to market current and electricity for that matter, and you don't have a meter, that means you are only going to be doing guesswork. And that's what DISCO have been doing. And the excuse is that we don't have enough capital to put meters in the hands of all those who need it. So what NEC has done through regulation is to say, we'll help you. We'll bring in other customers, we'll bring in other investors to participate in this supply chain, franchise it more or less. So I think this is going to be the only way out. Otherwise, we will forever be arguing and be trying to sanction DISCOs for not providing meters. So I believe this method we have put together is the right thing to do, because at the end of the day, it provides jobs for the investors, it provides opportunity for homegrown technology, it provides opportunity now for customers to have access to quality supply, quality to measure the amount of power they use when they want to use it, and also decide how much they want to use for a given day or a given month, a given week at appropriate pricing. So I think we can only look back and say, well, it wasn't done before. But going forward, what we have put in place now is the way out. Not only that, in the past, there is a lot of gaming, like you said. There's a lot of crazy bill I hear from a lot of people. To overcome crazy bill, we have also worked, we work on a document right now, which is a consultation paper that is going to be used as a regulation, because we have to go through consultation, then put another regulation, to put a cap on how much you can estimate a customer. In other words, there is going to be classes of customer. There's going to be the residential customer, there's going to be commercial customer, and even the so-called small business, or even organizations like churches, mosques. So there will be a cap on how much they will pay if you want to still continue to do business of estimation. In fact, it will be of no profit, no gain to the DISCOs. So that's going to hasten them to provide meters.
Isn't that already, in operation?
Well, that amount, that maximum is not. It's a new regulation, because the one we had before has been abused. Where the customer even contributes to putting together what I call credit advance payment initiative. That one has been abused. It's not working. So NEC, in their own wisdom, in our wisdom, we have put together a new regulation. And that new regulation, like I said, is being discussed now, which is going to put a cap, which is called capping, the cost you can estimate a customer. In fact, that will accelerate. That will make quickly all the discos to put together, to buy into our franchising of MAP or to provide meters to customers. Because if we leave it alone, look at if we leave it alone, guess what? When we are still waiting for that one day certain, when meters will be out there in Nigeria, people will be cheated. So we want to stop that very, very quickly.
They have been cheated.
That is why we are in. That is why we are regulators, to make sure if you report to me now that somebody is actually taking advantage of you, overcharging you, believe me, first I will ask you, go to the forum office. We have offices all over Nigeria. Report the fact that you are being overcharged, overestimated. And if that's a redress office that we put out there. If it is not done, come to me. Come to us. And what we will do, we will sanction that disco.
Can you hold on?
Yes.
Professor Roman, let's pause you in the meantime. From the consumers, some of the complaints you hear are as follows. Those who wish to acquire meters say that the meters in some areas are available.
Precisely.
But there is hoarding.
Okay.
Second point, there is also the challenge of misclassification. Residential areas are sometimes misclassified as commercial.
Yes.
And I mean, it must be puzzling. These are the kind of distortions we have in our economy. Yes. Look, I'm consuming a product, and on account of what is close to, antitrust practices, you are having, discos who are taking advantage of consumers. So you misclassify me, you give me a hefty bill. I've not experienced this personally. I have a meter, but you give me a hefty bill. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
I will spend man-hours seeking redress from you. In the meantime, they would have come to disconnect the power. So if it comes 2 or 3 hours, nothing. In any case, the power they get is for only a limited period. And the amount they are asked to pay is as if you have power 24/7.
First, I want to say that this is where enlightenment, public enlightenment is very important at NEC, which we are doing. I also consume power. I pay for my electricity. Okay? I remember moving to my apartment, my house the other day, a few months ago, and I recognized that I was being charged a commercial rate. My bills were just so high, but I didn't keep quiet. I made effort and reached out to Disco very quickly. And what we found out is that I was being charged commercial, whereas I'm a residential customer. So I submit to all customers, please be involved in your bill. If your bill is high, find out, like you said, whether you are being charged as a commercial customer and make effort. Call us.
The problem is the finding out, the process of finding out. But again, Kingsley spoke to, mentioned an issue about hoarding of meters.
I want to talk about that.
In some areas, there's a staccato of meter. You find this house has meter, where I don't have meter. We've applied for several years. But surrounding houses have meters. Okay. So please, could you address that issue?
Recently, in the last several weeks, NEC has been calling each of the disco to a meeting to ask very simple question. Are you hoarding meters? You know it is illegal.
They will tell you no.
Okay. And we are saying...
Is that what they told you?
No, wait a minute. If there is one, we ask them to immediately make sure that meter is available. Because after a while, the meter will be... they will be penalized for doing that. Because what we are doing also is to speed up the metering asset provider so that even if you are hoarding meter, you can't hold it for too long. Because new meters are coming to market. And we are sanctioning such people who will now game the system with hoarding meters and, of course, preventing new asset provider, meter services into the network. So I'm just going to appeal that if you discover and you can make a simple proof that a disco is hoarding meter, let us know, because we will not take it for granted. And again, don't forget what I said. Our regulations suggest that if you said there are X number of metering gap now, the asset provider are being welcomed to bid to provide that gap going forward.
What is NERC's attitude to the latest move by the House of Reps to criminalize, estimated bidding?
Well, I'm not going to discuss the government resolution on criminalizing, but don't forget what we have put in place. Actually, at the end of the day, when it works, and it will work.
Is NERC supporting it?
What is going to happen is that...
Are you supporting it?
No, I'm saying it's going to actually minimize the importance of that bill. Why? Because we put a cap on bills that you can estimate. We put a requirement on providing meter to L. We're also going to make sure that theft is not allowed also. So the 3 or 4 things that we are putting in place to support DISCO, to support customer, will probably discourage
at what time
appearance right now.
At what time frame?
For example, enumeration has to take place. We have to know how many customers we have out there. And by the end of March, we will know how many customers we have out there. And going forward beyond March, bids are being opened for those who have already signed on to be meter provider. We've already set up an auditor, an audit consultant that will be part of the bid opening for those who will be providing meters in Nigeria. So what I'm saying, therefore, it is not something that you have to wait for next year.
Okay.
It is going to happen as we talk.
All right. Professor James Momoh, Chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Commission, would like to thank you for being on Good Morning Nigeria. We will have other guests coming in shortly to discuss in further detail aspects of estimated billing, which is driving most Nigerian electricity consumers crazy. Professor Momoh, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thank you again. I do not support estimated billing. It is wrong because
it is going on.
But we are trying to put a cap.
But it's going on.
I'm talking about wrong estimation. It's not good for...
Why would you estimate me? I mean, if I consume 5 kilowatts, let it be 5 kilowatts that I have consumed. Why should a residential consumer be charged the same
I'm on your side. That is the same argument I'm having too.
But you see,
no, Prof, it's not the matter. You are the regulator.
Ironically, the regulator is not sticking its neck out for criminalization of estimated billing. But Professor Momoh,
and I'm saying,
yes,
it is not my job now to say is it right or wrong, but it is part of the way forward to stop this mess. I'm saying that NEC has put together sequences of procedures and processes to even make sure that's not going to be taken.
Professor James Momoh, thank you.
Yeah, that's right. We would like to thank you. Aspects of capping, I'm sure the other guests will discuss that. Whether it isn't trying to equalize maximum demand users with residential and commercial. Professor Momoh, thanks a lot for being around.
Very much.
Yeah. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we'll continue with the conversation.
Madam.
That's it. Those nairas are enough.
Hi, dear. Helen! You got so much even after spending so little.
Savings is such a necessity.
You save everywhere, but here, you lose it all.
How?
With this?
Impossible.
New Tika Apic 10X.
Even after applying up to 1 liter of your solution multiple times,
you won't get the same cleaning that Apic gives you in a single round.
And the expense?
Far less compared to your 1 liter of solution. New Tika Apic. Top in cleaning,
top in savings.
The Candidates, a presidential town hall co-production between Daria Media and NTA, supported by the MacArthur Foundation, Kingsley Mogalu and running mate Umar Getso of the Young Progressive Party, Muhammadu Buhari and running mate Yemi Osinbajo of the All Progressives Congress, Omoyele Sowore and running mate Rabiu Ahmed Rufai of the African Action Congress, Atiku Abubakar and running mate Peter Obi of the People's Democratic Party. Moderator, Padria Ahmed. Town Hall venue, Sheraton Hotel, Abuja. Next Town Hall, Wednesday, 30th January 2019, with the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, from 8 to 10 p.m. The candidates will be broadcast live on NTA and other partner TV and radio stations, as well as streamed online on NTA and DTV.media. If you are over 18 and want to be part of the audience, apply online at daria.media. Or use the hashtag NGTheCandidates, or participate online using the hashtag NGTheCandidates.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I was so excited to sing in the choir.
And your shirts are always so white.
I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secrets passed down to me. It's Jik, of course. The original trusted bleach, which can be used all around your house for amazing results.
Shh, it's our little secret.
It's no secret. It's Jik's best ever extra whitening power. Just Jik it.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
All right, this is still Good Morning Nigeria, and we're discussing estimated billing of electricity consumers. And we have joined us again for the second half of the discussion, former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Dr. Sam Amadi. Dr. Amadi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to welcome to the studio Barrister Adetunji Adeyeye, who is the Regulatory Manager, Association of Nigerian Electricity Distribution Companies. And thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right.
Also with us in the studios, we have Chief Tomiola Akimbogun. He's Chairman, Electricity Consumer Advocacy Network. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
All right, and here also is the Reverend David Ugolo. He's Executive Director of Africa Network for Environment and Economic Justice. Reverend Ugolo, pleasure to have you on Good Morning
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, but let's begin. Of course, gentlemen, I'm sure while you were waiting there at our reception, you must have listened to the incumbent chairman of the Regulatory Commission. So let's, excuse me, let's begin with Adeyeye. Why are we still having what consumers refer to as a nuisance of estimated billing?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to apologize to Nigeria that some of the estimated billing that they've gotten has not been scientific enough, but estimated billing is a fact, and it's one of the mechanisms of electricity industry everywhere in the world. Developed country, US, everywhere you have, in fact, you need estimated billing. The problem why we have estimated billing persisting in Nigeria is because of the historical deficit of the metering plan of electricity over the years. When the private investor came on board, we were given a number of electricity customers, all over Nigeria as 1.7. But as we started business and started, distributing, we realized that through the process of enumeration, we realized that we have 4.7 million Nigerian electricity customers. So in that 1.7, we were given a target by NEC to meet a portion of that. Out of those portions, we have aggressively metered those customers. Now, the reality is the same NEC who gave us target to meet our customers also set the CAPEX for us, which is the money that we spent on transformer, lines, and meter. For the old discos, they gave us 305 billion for 5 years, over 5 years. The metering gap alone will cost us almost 300 billion, 299 billion, just the metering gap of 1.7. So in other words, the regulator has failed ab initio to realize that the money you are allocating for some of the metering that you are requesting us to do is not even sufficient in the first place. So you can then have quick metering when you have not provided the regulated cost that you need to invest. That's the money that we have to get from bank or wherever we want to get it from to be able to do the metering. it's not been properly allowed by NEC itself. So the banks, the financing is difficult to do, it's difficult to get. They say, oh, how are you going to pay back? So this is a reality. But we appeal to Nigerians, we are most interested in metering because it encourages customers to pay quickly when they see that metering, the billing is fair. So it's our own interest to meter. You would have heard the Prof. Next said, oh, there was CAPME, it was helping, they stopped it. Now they provided meter asset, provided regulation. All of that is not happening. But the meter that is happening, the 88% of the numbers that we've metered have been disco self-metering programs. So you see, it's a drop in the ocean because the number is so huge. So this course is trying to resolve the issue of, unscientific or crazy billing by setting internal mechanism. So if you are overestimated, we'll call you to come back. We adjust, we look into your billing and try to immediately remedy that. But it may not be instantaneous and it may not be quick enough across board. But we do appeal to customer, please make use of that. We are as human as you are. I get estimated billing too.
I just like to, of all that you have said, you've put the blame on the step of the regulator. But the urban issue, did you also not realize the inadequacy of, NEC's provision? Because you said NEC didn't realize that probably funding of, the initial 1.7 wasn't enough. Oh. Did you also not realize that? And what did you do if you did?
Okay, we did, as a matter of fact. And that's one of the core advocacy that we have driven to say, look, for us to have a holistic and very sustainable metering, we must look at the prices, which goes back to the price of the fixed price for electricity. The tariff has to be adjusted such a way that it does recognize the cost of the metering gap. And they've played politics with that. And that's why sometimes my personal take, the way I describe NEC is that they are like a confused hunter who takes a dog to a hunting field, shoot down a squirrel, takes the dog, tells the dog, bring me my game. And when the dog brings a squirrel, you say, oh, you should have brought me an antelope. You must really readjust. So that's one of the things we've driven, and they have not responded till date.
Okay, Adeyeye, thank you very much. Happily, Dr. Sam Amade, a frequent guest on Good Morning Nigeria, is right here with us on the studios. He was former chairman of the Electricity Regulatory Commission. Dr. Sam Amade, you listen to him. We would like you to respond. And also, take along with this. It said that at the time the discos were taken over, there were some 1.7 million consumers as notified by NEC, but they discovered that the consumers are actually some 4.7, and the metering gap is like 3 million. It describes it as huge. Are these aircraft or helicopters that you say there are 4 million helicopters you want to, so that Boeing or the other aircraft manufacturers may not have time to produce them? These are meters that are no bigger than some of the smart devices you have.
Okay, I think first, let me say that Mr. Prince, Mr. Adeyeye, or Prince Adeyeye, largely correct. First and foremost, we are dealing with a legacy problem, which means before I came to NEC, there was no audited account of the regulatory, of all DISCOs and GENCOs. We did the first one in 2012. That's how bad things are. When Babidele Aturu's committee, I considered that committee, they went and did a public inquiry on metering. Metering, they came out, the metering was 40% across the country. So 3 things quickly. First is, legacy problem meant that when they were privatizing, the responsibility of audit, of State of Affairs report was on the DISCOs and GENCOs, and they did a poor job. So they didn't know they didn't have their customer base. So the 1.9 million customers are the customers that the DISCOs themselves then, before privatized, presented as a customer. Of course, there's incentive not to have the right number of customers. And that's part of why government entities, these entities failed. That's number one. Number two is that NEC is correct. NEC gives you their CAPEX, because that CAPEX increases tariff. Everything that is being financed in the sector is paid by the customer. So sometimes people say, oh, NEC, the discourse say, oh, NEC, don't give us cost-reflective tariff. So if you have 4 million customers, and let's say each meter is 35,000 or 40 or 50,000, depending on type of meter, it means therefore that it will be times 4 million people. That CAPEX will be too much. The NEC have to structure a long-term recovery. So let's say 10, 15 years, 20 years for it to recover. Second point is that with BPE, you agreed on a number of meters. These discos won their bid because they said we're going to reduce our losses. We're going to meter our customers at this rate. So for 5 years, we hope to close the metering gap. Third point is this, and this is a big one. If they had followed our CAPME, now CAPME was revolutionary and very effective. What does that say? We knew that there's no way this industry can officially source this 299 billion you're talking about. Because how will you source it? The discos were not very strong. They're the best we could get. Nobody wanted to invest in the industry. So these discos can't raise that kind of money. Government cannot bring that money and give you. So let customers finance their metering. We created a system that tripartite. So the disco, the customer, and the regulator, you put escrow account, that money. 14 days when you pay you must provide the meter. That takes, so customers finance their meter and they recover through CAPEX energy credit. That's the point. When I was leaving, we signed a new order. People forget this. In the order we signed, the order says, the tariff order, it says 3 months after paying for meter, if a customer is not metered, that customer should stop paying bills. NEC did not, when we leave, nobody implemented that order. So what that order says is that, look, we've given you a time of grace. People are paying. If I pay for my meter, you don't install it, and 3 months you've not done anything, which is reasonable, then we stop paying for bills. It's in the order, which is the law of NEC. Nobody implemented that. So the answer to this problem is cumulative regulation. Improve the working of the CAPME. I don't accept the logic of the MAP. Because in my sense, you see, MAP creates a supply side, so people are going to supply meters.
Explain for our viewers, what is MAP?
MAP is the metering, the metering provider program is that NEC kind of deregulates the sales, retail side of it and say, look, people come and be certified and bid and provide meter. Now they are calling with the discourse on how do I allow you to fix meter in my network, where is the source of my revenue, what is the integrity guarantee. Now, the same result could be achieved if we optimize CAPME, which is to say customers pay this money in escrow and then work with BPP. BPP certified all the providers, all the meter. So their job is to provide within 14 days. So the answer I would say, what I would say is this, 3 point I would like to make quickly is that the metering problem is a legacy problem. It will be solved in a structured and effective way that requires influx of funding into the sector. 2, it requires proper marking of discos. Some discos don't have incentive to meter because some people argue that they might be making more money through estimation, which is possible. So NEC is doing well. They should be more effective in closing them down. The third point is that estimation itself, like I said, is not totally a strange animal in the industry. But the problem is that the complaint management process is very weak. We couldn't focus so much on that because we are focusing on the big picture. Now, it's time to now say, when customers are overestimated, what should we do to the disco? How do you internalize costs to the disco so that they put self-restraint? Because we can't solve this problem with a magical wave of hand and say, okay, meters are, you're right, meters are not rocket science. But the problem is that the financing of it and the deployment of it will take some time and reasonable funding. But before then, should discos be allowed to continue to exploit customers? So there's difference between proper estimation and very irregular and even criminal estimation. So for example, what's estimation? Even if you have a meter analog abroad, they don't come and read the meter all the time. So they can estimate you for 2 months on historic payment. Then after 2 months, they come back and recheck from their rereading. So estimation is not the problem is that the incentive to overestimate and the lack of proper control of their management process by the discos. Many discos don't even know. My meter got blown, you reported. Some people don't even, it takes them 4 or 5 months to come back and they're not collecting any money. They're not even estimating you. So there is a problem of capacity to monitor on the part of discos, manage and regulate on the part of the
Let's put you on hold. Just before we bring in our other, 2 guests here, I still like Barrister Adeye to speak to the issues. Dr. Amadi has talked about the fact that within the performance agreement, the discos signed with, of course, BPE, there was the provision for discos to, produce meters. Now they went ahead to find a solution to the gap, to the gap, by bringing in MAP. So now that there is MAP and people are buying into MAP, what is the problem with the provision of meters?
Okay, all right. First of all, I want to also completely agree with Dr. Amadi. In fact, If I were to choose, I would choose CAPME. CAPME is most efficient, most practical. The MAP, the meter asset provider, is too cumbersome. So it's essentially, takes DISCO away from metering, so it gives it to another person. Then there's also the technical problems that comes with it. So first of all, how do you determine who has the liability when meters are malfunctioning, or who has the responsibility to assure the revenue that comes from that? So MAP has been slow because even NEC as of today have not been able to realistically look at how that dynamics will play. So it's not for me personal. This is a personal opinion. I would rather see a CAPME than MAP. Anyway, for the DISCOs, truly we have that obligation under the performance agreement, but also that obligation came with a respite to do a baseline studies of all the DISCO operation in terms of loss. And when we did that, that's when we realized, after that's 1 year after takeover, that's when we realized the true state of the market. And from then we've been saying, hey, let's readjust, let's reset the tariff, let's look at some of the risks that have been unnecessarily borne by the DISCO to reposition the DISCO to efficiency. But that has not happened. We keep dodging it. The worst part, okay. Right?
All right. Mr. Adeyeye, thanks a lot. Let's bring in the other two guests now. First, Chief Akinbogun, who is chairman of the Electricity Consumer Advocacy Network. You've listened to, shall we say, the two sides, the critical to this, the providers, the regulator, former and current. What, in your opinion, is wrong, and how can we surmount this? And as I keep asking the question, look, it's a meter, electricity meter. Is it customized? Must you build a specific meter for each particular consumer? Are these not items that could otherwise have been sourced?
Thank you very much. I think the DISCOs have been spoiled, really. The laws have been changed several times to make them survive. Well, they claim they cannot survive. We believe they can survive if they are actually professional in the... I mean, you cannot come and invest in electricity without having source of fund. And government and NEC has actually changed the law about 3 times. The tariff has changed several times to the point that we have in some areas up to about 200%. In just about 2 years. That means our production capacity in Nigeria cannot compete with international communities because we are all we are supposed to be exporting our produce. I think also Annette saying that we have only 4.7 million electricity users in Nigeria. We know that is definitely far from the truth. Well, it has to be scientific. I don't have the tool yet to be able to challenge them and say we have 15 million. Definitely from 1.7 to 4.7, we know that something wrong is wrong somewhere. And we also have proof that some customers' revenue to the DISCOs are not being properly captured. They're not being captured. For example, the prepaid meter users, we found out in some DISCOs that you cannot pay with check. You cannot make a transfer. You cannot pay with your POS.
That's correct.
And you can only pay cash. That
right.
means if you're bringing 1 million, 2 million, and you are a hotel, and then that means you have to pay cash. And that means a lot that is under reporting of your revenue. If you're under reporting your revenue and you are telling NEC that you are not making profit, please increase the tariff. Increase the tariff. Then, they increase the tariff, then you are making jumbo profits. And jumbo profit is not allowed in a monopoly. It's still a monopoly. So we find that CAPME or whatever. We also have to be mindful that the current tariff that we're using, customers are paying for the meters. It's been built in. And so if you remove what has been built in, that means the tariff already automatically has been increased. If I still have to buy the meter that has been, that is already built into my current bill, that means there is already an increment.
All right, Chief Akimbogun, thank you very much. Let's bring in now David Ugolo, the Reverend David Ugolo, who is Executive Director, Africa Network for Environment and Economic Justice. Some consumers would argue that what they are experiencing with the discos is economic injustice. What is your take on this, and how can these matters be resolved? It just appears that the discos, they are both the players and the referee at the same time.
Yes, and I think what is happening now, with having listened to the NEC chairman earlier on, and then our friend from ANE, it's very clear that the problem is not unique to the electricity sector alone. It's for you to look the entire country. This is the same problem in the petroleum sector. It's about leadership in the entire country. Because what you have seen is that even as we speak, metering system is also a problem in the petroleum sector. The same thing the private sector is currently doing in the electricity sector, that's what the oil companies are doing in the oil sector. As we speak today, if you have read the ET report, Nigerians do not know exactly the crude oil we are lifting in this country. It's a problem. We don't even have the population. Even if you go to the university, you ask a vice chancellor, what is the population of the student? They will not tell you. And the reason why we are a bit not transparent when it comes to population thing is about money, is about theft, is about people taking advantage of the ignorance of the society. So the problem that it's not just about the electricity, it's about we as a country. We don't have our population. What is the number? We don't. And so people take an advantage of it. And is there an incentive for people not to make available information? Yes, there is incentive. So that incentive is what drives this whole thing, that disclosure is a problem. And that's why you see that even that is the reason behind FOI Act. Why is it difficult for citizens to write with using the FOI Act instrument to ask for basic information? They are not able to get it. And this is really the bane of governance problem in Nigeria. And so what is the way forward? The way forward is very clear. It's for us as citizens to begin to mobilize, using the information that are available to demand for justice. And if you look what is happening today, the private company colluding with government officials to take an advantage of the ignorance of the society. That's what is exactly happening in the electricity sector. Otherwise, if there's a complete disclosure, we will be able to know the profit system. And in the face of where at least there should be transparency, how the companies receive money. That's really a huge problem. Why would somebody want to pay his bill? You emphasize you have to pay with cash in this age. So the fact that we don't even have the information about the total consumer in this country, that's the starting point. And if the federal government wants transparency in that sector, that's the starting point. Let us know the population of consumer in the country. We'll be able to know. It is only when you have that baseline information, you'll be able to question what happened in the downstream. Without that information, there is nothing we can do. And who do you think can make this happen? It's the leadership of the country.
Okay, Reverend Ugolo, thank you. Chief Akimbogun, made quite, for me, it's a revelation, disclosure, when he talked about the fact that even the charges that consumers are made to pay, you have metering charges inclusive in it, and I'm sure that this is not even known to the electricity consumers themselves. So I'm going to bring in Dr. Madi here. Is this fair? I mean, how much do the consumers know about this, and are there provisions for refund?
Well, I think most consumers who got engaged with our process know. I mean, Akimbola is a very great consumer activist. And first and foremost, like I said before, every item in the electricity network is priced and the consumers pay. So when we talk about CAPMI, that's why I said CAPMI was very good. The CAPMI does not replace their obligation to provide meters. So, for example, if we're doing the tariff of Abuja Disco, Abuja comes to us. We know that the agreement is to provide 100,000 meters in this year. We price it. we put it in their capex. It's the tariff. Then, when we are monitoring them quarterly, when NEC monitors them, NEC is every quarter, let's say 25,000 is going to want to do. So when they report to us, they must report 25,000 plus the cap me. The cap me is crowdsourcing. It's saying, look, by our agreement, we'll do 25 every quarter. It will take us 100 years or 10 years, 20 years to complete 1.4 million. We say, no, that's not doable. Government, can you provide the money? Of course, government cannot provide the money because it's a private entity market. So who can provide it? Customers. Willing buyer, willing seller. If you are willing and you want to be first to be mainstreamed on the queue, you are queuing up. Yes. So I want to jump the queue. This is my 50,000. I pay for my meter. 14 days, you install. After 14 days, you rebate me by discount of capex for 2 years. That was a plan. You see, policy discontinuity is very bad for any industry. If the plans are not working well, you take feedback from the field and improve, optimize. The Nigerian problem is basically that we are very, idiosyncratic. Wake up in the morning, we revise science, we change mathematics, and then we think, boom, 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 new one. That's the policy. Now, back to the issue you raised about transparency, very important. We were the first agency in this country to sign up to the FOI. I made public disclosure. We're number 1. 2, I was the only regulator in the world who organized Consumer Advocacy Network. He's sitting there. What's the idea? You need to empower consumers to checkmate the regulator. Regulation requires consumer awareness and activism. I wanted NEC to fund them. My board said overruled us. Because I knew the importance of a consumer network. The chairman of NEC will not be there in Agidibodo or Sokoto, Namoda. But these groups can crystallize those problems and bring them to the public hearing. So when we have a public hearing, the discourse had their experts, mathematicians and economists. The consumers have no expert. That's why I came up with this idea of having a consumer network. In fact, the industry labeled me a rebel. They said I was bringing too much radicalism. And my board voted against me not to fund them. I wanted to fund them with NEC money because I realized what we call information asymmetry and competence asymmetry. You can't bring a customer group that are disparate, individual, no capacity, to match industry leaders who hire the best brain. So if Nigeria wants to get this right, fund consumer network to have experts so that when they come to public hearing, NEC is not the expert at everything. They will come and bring ideas. The other thing is issue about, you're right, about consequences. If we don't get the numbers correct, yes, that's why NEC mandated under our leadership, we gave them a timeline to enumerate their customers. Some of them came back to us and said, it will take 3 years. We said, no, it must take 6 months. World Bank assisted Kaduna and Kano Disco to do some work. We said, it's not rocket science. Why can't the discos invest and enumerate? I'm shocked that 3 years after I've left NEC, we are still talking about not knowing the consumer numbers. That's a big disgrace to all of us. Yeah, and I agree with you.
Dr. Amadi, thanks a lot. Mr. Adeyeye, 2 very quick questions. What is the challenge with enumerating electricity consumers? 1. 2, what is the procurement challenge with getting meters? I don't know. I don't know what is special about a meter.
All right. Okay, quick one. I would like to respond to the 2 questions, but quickly, I must respond to my brother's allegation that there is no accountability and transparency in the receipt of money in the disco. That's not right. That's not the fact. We are the most regulated industry. We publish our accounts to NEC themselves and even on the internet. The issue of not being able to...
What he was talking about...
Yeah, it's cash. I know.
How much are you publishing?
No, we publish everything.
Is it the NEC receipt? If you go with your ATM card, they will tell you that POS is not working.
No, that's another problem anyway. But quickly, the point that I want to make is that for the prepaid metering, the system that optimizes your billing to the type of meter you have is disjointed. And that's why even MAP is going to have that problem. Because even MAP has not even clearly say what kind of platform are you going to use. If A brings B meter, C brings C meter, how are they going to be communicating with this cause so that's a problem. Even within the NEC, they didn't think it through. So, but that's the part of transfer. Disco heavily report their income. There's no doubt about that. Now, why do we have problem enumerating a customer? First of all, it's a bigger problem of the way Nigerian agriculture is designed. Before I came to ANED, I was a commercial manager for one of the discos. So I go to visit my customer. Well, some places, we just get into a place in the middle of nowhere, hut, they said is a structure, no address. How do you then capture that person? Exactly. The next time you go there, the place is demolished, the address has changed. So the way our urban and town planning is been done has created a lot of significant problems.
How do you submit as estimated billing to these same disjointed addresses?
Okay, good. This is the question. A lot of those unestimated customers, and our enumeration is progressive anyway. So today we know that we are 4.7, but we are still enumerating. Now, a lot of people, and this is why our metering tool has not been progressive for NEC record, and I'll tell you why. Next says do...
We are running out of time.
Yeah, quickly. So yes. So next says do 100 meters. When we are trying to enumerate, we find that people have already connected to us that we don't even know illegally. So to stop leakages, we first of all meter those ones. Those ones that we discovered are not part of the obligation to meter because they are not on the books. So now, how do we collect money from the those illegally built places? A lot of energy theft exists. A lot of leakages exist. So the one that we can capture, we capture. And we try to regularize.
Can you take this question
about... What is a meter?
Okay,
What is inside a meter?
Okay,
is it nuclear science?
So no. Okay, it's the meter itself is just a tool. But there's also things behind it. So you're just not putting a meter before on the house. You must make sure that the consumption or the place you're going to is properly wired. You must make sure that it can be suitable. So it's a process. It's not just...
How long does it take when you make application for a meter? How long does it take to get it fixed? Because, again, like we said to... Yes,
okay, for the discos, like NEC gave them target. I can assure you today on our record, we've met 88% of the self-initiated or self-target metering. But of course, we can't meet the gap at one swap. So that gap will still exist, but in terms of NEC obligation, we have done 88%. So, you must give credit to that.
Okay,
just that the problem is huge.
Chief Akipago, do you think there is any form of hoarding here? Hoarding of meters?
Yes, definitely, to the advantage of the disco. We have a situation where they are even rejecting electricity supply. So, I mean, once you are going to get money from your customer, whether you give them electricity or not, then it's better to give them this darkness and then get paid for it. So I want to just quickly say that criminalization of estimated billing by the House of Rep is welcomed by the public. We would definitely support that. And I also want to say that also NEC, that I said, has actually spoilt the discourse, actually has a small percentage, they say small percentage, of the revenue from the discourse. So how do we have the judge and the warder, the judge pay the warder, or the warder pays the judge to get more people from the public? So I think there's something wrong.
All right, David Igola, we talked already about the challenge of leadership in the sector. What is it that can be done? Because some of the issues are deliberately opaque, and in this opacity you are seeing all kinds of... these are matters you can strip bare and then get them to work.
Doc, I also actually said it all. And I think the consumer themselves, if you expect that the people who benefit the system will be the solution, then you will live in another world. We that are the victim of this problem, we must look for a scientific and innovative way to overcome the problem. There is a technology around to geolocate every consumer in this country to 3 square meters. Even in the sea, you can give an address. So that's not a problem. So we activists, we civil society, we must look for an innovative way to begin to unpack this information and put it in the public, and also expose some of these people that are making money from this process. It is only that way that we can tackle the problem. Otherwise, it becomes a norm. We all want to believe that the system will change itself. It won't. We must take steps, innovative steps, to overcome this
All
challenge.
right, Reverend Goda, thank you. Let's quickly, Kingsley, close over the tweets.
Yeah, there are a number of tweets. We must appreciate you for sending in your tweets. As you can see, it's been a very interesting conversation here. Let me just skip through some of these tweets. You know, some of them, of course, are referring to the estimated billing as estimated robbery. You have all kinds. Everybody's complaining. That's precisely what we are getting here. Olusegun Dosumo, Terence Oke, Husseini Baba, Kingsman, Adekunle Olayemi, Ibrahim Moduaji, Esowe. It's like, you know, all kinds of things that they're talking about, typical of, it says Ikorodu has been thrown into darkness for weeks now, as officials seen in the street removing fuses and other vital power installation from the transformer without telling the residents what they are doing. Then they will get estimated billing at the end of the month, and so on and so forth. So several of them, Claire, would like to thank you for your tweets. And on that note, we also would like to appreciate our 4 guests who've been with us in this conversation. First, we'd like to thank Barrister Adetunji Ade. He's the regulatory manager at the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distribution Companies. That's a long one. It's a regulatory manager for Discos. Annex. All right. Thank you
for the promotion.
We also have Chief Tomiola Akimbogun to appreciate as the chairman of the Electricity Consumer Advocacy Network. Thanks a lot for being on Good Morning Nigeria again.
Thank you.
And thanks also to the Reverend David Ugolo, Executive Director of African Network for Environment and Economic Justice. Ugolo, thanks for being around. And the former chairman of NEC, that's Dr. Sam Amadi of the Electricity Regulatory Commission. Thanks a lot, always, for your insights.
Of Base University.
All right. Now he teaches law at Base University. That's right.
All right. We'd like to appreciate everybody for being part of our program today. And Kingsley Novak and Djokovic beat Rafael Nadal. All right.
What was the score?
Don't worry, I didn't watch.
Right,
I got the results.
It was straight set, 6-3, 6-2, 6-3. And he's nicked his 15th Grand Slam. And, of course, he has 3 Grand Slams now that he's holding in the meantime, waiting for the French Open later in the year. All right, so on that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. We're back tomorrow at the same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. My name is Kingsley Osadolo.
I am Claire Delabo Abdulrazak. Have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.